For years, I felt so ashamed, so alone, and like I was ruining my body with my own two hands. And I spent so much money and so many tears trying everything to get it under control, and just nothing seemed to work. So if you're watching this and you're feeling stuck in that same painful cycle and like no one understands, I want you to know that I see you and I know exactly how you're feeling. And I hope that by opening up and getting really vulnerable today, sharing my own skin picking story, that you feel less alone and that it gives you both hope and some tools to regain control and start to heal on your journey. Because you don't have to go through this alone, so let's dive into it. Before we start, I just want to say welcome back to the Be So Good channel, where we're all about elevating ourselves from the inside out. This is episode 4 of our weekly Mate Chat series, where we take a second to slow down, sip on something warm, and talk about the real stuff, especially all the little things that shape how we show up in life so that we can live more intentionally on our own terms. So let's dive in. So I think it's important to start with, what is skin picking? As much as the name seems really obvious, and it is picking at your skin, I also think it's really important to make a differentiation between skin picking as a compulsive disorder, also known as dermatillomania, and just skin picking in terms of every now and then you get a blemish or a pimple and you pop that one pimple every now and then and it's not that big of a deal. That's not exactly what we're covering today. Today we're talking about the real skin picking where you can't control it and you feel like it's taking over your life. And that can also be known as dermatillomania or excoriation disorder. This is also known as what's called a BFRB, which is a body-focused repetitive behavior. Let me preface by saying that I am not a dermatologist, I am not a psychologist, I'm not an esthetician. I am just someone that unfortunately struggled with this disorder for many years, too many years. And I did so much research to try to help myself, to try to educate my partner on what I was struggling with. And I'm just sharing everything that I personally went through, as well as what really helped me, so that if you're watching this, like I said, you feel less alone, because I know how lonely and how shameful it can feel to be in that space. So I think it's really important to also educate yourself, because maybe you're watching this and you don't even know that it's a disorder. So if we go to Google and we type in dermatillomania, it says it is also known as a skin picking disorder or excoriation disorder. It is a mental health condition where you compulsively pick at your skin. This can cause injuries, infections, scarring, leading to stress, anxiety, and a reduced sense of well-being. And I am here to attest that it can do all those things, because it did all those things to me. And I want you to know that it's more normal than you may think. There's people even like Lily Reinhart from, I don't know if I pronounced her name right, but from Riverdale, who has been very open that she struggles with this. Alex Earl has been open that she struggles with picking at her skin. There is so many girls, boys, adults, young teens that struggle with picking at their skin. There can be a lot of different BFRBs. Again, that just stands for body-focused repetitive behaviors. It could be things like hair pulling, picking at your cuticles to where they're bare and they're raw. It could be picking at your skin, picking at different areas of your body. It doesn't have to be your face. And there's such a big misconception that it's just a bad habit that you need to kick. And everyone that you probably know or have maybe tried to open up about it can be like, well, why don't you just stop? Like, stop cold turkey. But it's not a habit. It is truly a coping mechanism for something deeper. And I think that that's why it's so important to get educated on it. And I personally scoured the internet and YouTube for videos of people that were struggling with this, because I felt like I was the only one that was going through this, and it felt so lonely. So I'm gonna get into a little bit about my story and how my skin picking disorder decided to start, as well as all the things that didn't work, all the money that I spent, and then all the things that I did do that finally helped me come out of it, so that hopefully they help you. So let's get into how my personal skin picking journey began. And sometimes you can't even pinpoint exactly when this starts to happen, but there are several factors that I have been able, through a lot of self-reflection, even a little bit of therapy, and overall just being in that space for over 2 years, that helped me really realize what kind of were the culprit for why I developed this compulsion. One of them being that I became really obsessed with my skin. Like I've said in other videos, even one of my latest method chats, trying to de-influence viral overconsumption of skincare, I began playing with a lot of skincare when skincare started blowing up on TikTok and Instagram and everything like that. As you know, or if this is your first time watching me, skincare is one of the topics that I talk about on my channel. But that is because I have been through such a journey with skincare, and I am really here to hopefully shed a different light if you're someone that has struggled with acne, with skin picking, with just over consuming skincare. I know exactly what that's like because I have made all those mistakes, and I'm here to kind of give a different perspective on those things. But part of my initial skin picking started with just becoming hyper aware of my skin. And that led to then going to get a facial, where I had a really bad dermaplaning experience that truly gave me the worst acne and the worst texture of my life. And in combination with that, at the same time, I had also suffered from a back injury where I injured my L4, L5, L5S1. If you don't know what that is, I'm just talking about the different vertebrae. So basically, I had a low back injury. I also tore my meniscus. So it was just a whole recipe for disaster because I was having chronic pain. I was trying to rehab from 2 injuries that I had never in my life experienced before. I grew up being an athlete. I've said this before, but I was athletic my whole entire life. I was working in the fitness space, training clients, doing so much in that world. I was working out multiple times a day, and all of a sudden my body broke down on me, which is a separate video that I want to make on how I am trying to come back from that and everything that I learned from having chronic pain for several years as someone that was so in tune with my body and so fit before that, and everything that that has taught me. So if that's something that you're interested in following me on that journey, just let me know so that I make sure to make that a series or cover that if that's something that might resonate with you. But essentially, my body was breaking down and I wasn't able to work out, like truly work out, for basically like 2 years. And on top of that, I was dealing with this whole new skin issue that I never in my life had really experienced. And if you're someone that, again, struggles with skin picking or you struggle with acne, you know the toll that that can take on your self-confidence when you don't like what you're seeing in the mirror. So it was just a disaster. I couldn't move. I don't think I ever realized how much fitness, how much movement and working out helped me release stress and anxiety. And on top of that, I had this whole skin issue. So I didn't have an outlet, like a true outlet that I had had my whole life, which was working out, which was moving my body. I never even realized how much it helped me release stress and anxiety. And the moment that I couldn't do that anymore, it's like my body found a way to try to de-stress and to try to get rid of anxiety, but in a way that was truthfully self-destructive, which led to skin picking. It's funny, even before sitting down to film this video, because I really thought about whether I wanted to film this or not, because it's really like not something that you want out there in the world, you know, that you're like, oh, I struggled with this big thing. That's a physical thing that when I show photos, it's like, whoa, most people did not know that I was dealing with that know me in my personal life. And even my partner was like, are you sure you want to make a video on that and you want people to know that that's, you know, something that you struggled with? And bless his heart, because obviously he's just looking out for me. But the truth is that when I was in this, when I was going through the thick of it, I looked for videos like this and I really couldn't find many. Maybe I found one or little snippets here or there, like I said, of people like Lily Reinhart or Alex Earl maybe talking about it. That made me feel a little bit less alone, but there was no one really sitting down and talking about it. And so I decided, if and when I ever come out of this, I am going to make a video so that at least one person that is exactly where I have been, hopefully feels less alone. And if I am able to get over this, hopefully I can help them the way that I wish I would have felt someone out there could help me. And even though I'm sharing my personal experience, I strongly urge you to take the time to really process everything that I say today and reflect on it on your own. Just like I'm saying now that I found that everything started for me when I stopped moving my body in the way that I could. Also, I was in a really stressful work situation that was not the greatest for like my mental health. So I knew that that was a big part of it as well. And then on top of that, I was dealing with a external topical skin issue that I was just not able to get under control. So it's really truly getting to the root of where all of this is stemming from, where that deep anxiety, where that deep stress, that little voice, subconsciously in your head is leading you to have this compulsion. It's so much harder than just stopping. And I understand that, and that's exactly why I want to cover this. And there are so many feelings around it. I remember feeling so much shame, so much disappointment, so much anger, and just really all the things that are not healthy to feel and you don't want to feel are the things that come with what I will call picking episodes, where at least for me, I don't know about you, but I felt like I was almost disassociating when I would have a skin picking episode. It's like all of a sudden I was in front of the mirror, and then all of a sudden an hour would go by and my face was like, what have I done? And then all these feelings, these negative feelings come after. It's almost like it gives you this huge relief in the moment and it helps you like almost disconnect from your body. But then the moment that you come back and you can see what you've done, it's really difficult. So like I said, if you're going through this as you're watching this video, I want you to know that you're not the only person that has struggled with this or that currently is struggling with this. It does not mean that you're not strong. It is a compulsive behavior and there are ways that it can get better. So let's get into all the things that I tried that didn't work. And this does not mean that it's not going to work for you, but these are just things that I tried that didn't work for me. So let's start with thing number 1. And that is to just stop. Everyone will tell you, my fiance would tell me, why don't you just stop? Like, just stop today. And if only it was that easy. And I know that it's not. So just looking at it from that perspective of like, I'm just gonna stop is probably not gonna work. And then you're gonna feel terrible when you do it again. So that's one thing that didn't work for me. The second thing that didn't work for me is to wear gloves all day. I tried that too. I went on Amazon, I bought gloves, I tried wearing them while I was at home and it didn't work. They were uncomfortable. I didn't like having them on. When I really had a big urge, I would take them off and then I would just, have an episode and relapse, we'll call it. So the whole gloves thing didn't work for me. Again, does not mean that it's not gonna work for you. The next thing that I tried is overloading my face with skincare. And if you've watched any of my other skincare videos, you know that I am pro simple routine. Simple is better. I have learned the hard way through messing up my skin more times than I can count, as well as spending so much money that I could have saved, invested, or done so many other things with, as opposed to get a bunch of random skincare products. So throwing everything at the wall, like all the spaghetti at the wall and hoping that something's gonna stick, didn't work for me. It only made my skin worse. It only made my acne worse and therefore my picking worse. And it was truly just a vicious cycle. The fourth thing that I tried that also didn't work for me was having fidget toys. So I bought Silly Putty. I remember I used to take Silly Putty with me to work. One of my best friends, literally, if she ever watches this, she'll be like, oh, I remember the Silly Putty days. So I tried fidget toys, I tried Silly Putty. I mean, honestly, it was fun. I do like playing with Silly Putty, but it didn't help the compulsions or the picking episodes at all. Another thing that I tried was covering up my mirrors, specifically my bathroom mirrors. And I'm gonna get into, again, all the things that did work. But fully covering my mirror, I bought this thing on Amazon and I cut holes in at the corners and I put little hooks on my mirror and I put it on my mirror when I would be working from home alone for a lot of hours, so I just wouldn't be triggered. Like, the main thing with this was that I just didn't want to be triggered. And one of my biggest triggers was my bathroom mirror, because anytime I would walk past it or see a little glare of my face or anything like that, it just like something would snap in my head and all of a sudden I would disassociate and have a picking episode. So I figured if I just cover the mirrors, it's gonna help. And it was helpful, but it wasn't fixing the root of the problem. And it was very easy to take on and take off. So it did help, but it definitely wasn't one of the game changers at all. And truthfully, it was really annoying to have to put it on and off. And also my fiance didn't like having it on because obviously he doesn't struggle with this. So he's like, I want to be able to walk in the mirror and I want to be able to see the mirror, which is totally valid. And that's another thing too. Struggling with this when you live with someone or you have a partner is quite interesting. If you want me to make another mate chat, oh, that's my ice maker. If you want me to make another mate chat episode where he comes on and he can share from his perspective what it was like, I'm not sure if he'll want to do that. It was pretty traumatic for him, which again, valid. To see someone you love go through something, it is really difficult. And luckily he's extremely supportive and is someone that I felt so safe. I mean, we were living together. There was no hiding it, but he's so understanding. And I always felt so safe to be able to share what I was feeling. There are things that I also shared with him, whether it was articles or videos, to try to get him to understand what I was going through, because I also know that for someone that doesn't struggle with it, it's like, what the heck, or why can't you just stop? And it can be so much deeper than that. So if you are someone that is living with someone that has this, or you live with someone and you felt very ashamed to share, just know that having a good support system can really help, whether it's your friends, your significant other. I highly urge you to share, whether it's this video or any other resource that can help them understand what you're feeling and what you're going through, can be really helpful, so that you don't have even more shame around that individual, because I think that that is so important on your healing journey, as well as for them to have a little bit more compassion for you as well. Okay, and this is a big one. But another thing that didn't work and is so detrimental is to have really negative self-talk and to just be so upset with yourself when you have an episode. I beat myself up so many times. I remember crying, especially like a year into it, where I was like, is this ever gonna get better? Like, am I ever gonna be able to stop? I don't recognize myself. I don't recognize my skin. Why can't I control this? All those feelings that, again, are all negative feelings, and all that self-talk is not gonna help you. It really only feeds this vicious cycle, because and that's not even funny because it's really sad, but you pick because you're feeling stressed, because you're feeling anxious, because you're feeling something isn't right, or there's something you're not happy about within yourself. And then when you pick, and then when you reinforce it with shame and more guilt and more frustration and more sadness, it's really only feeding the loop to do it again. So I know it's so difficult to try to stop this, but shame-based motivation is not gonna help. It's only gonna hurt you. And then the last thing that I tried that didn't work is that I bought markers and I started drawing or writing things for myself on the mirror with my markers. And it's not so much that the quotes and the things themselves didn't help, because I do feel like that can be helpful, but it was more so, again, living with someone, they don't want stuff written in all the mirrors around the apartment or the house with things. So unless you live alone, maybe this can help you, but I have better tips that will help you. But yeah, the whole markers things, not the best, not the most practical long-term wise, but I think it's a good place to start. And also, let me know if you're again watching this and this is something that you struggle with, I want to know what you feel that is not out there, because I, like I said, searched the internet for different tools. Again, things that I could do. I was buying things that weren't meant for that, but trying to use them for that. So I'm curious, if you're someone that struggles with this, what do you feel would help you the most that you haven't found out there? I've had ideas of things that I thought, like different products or things that I felt a need for when I was going through the thick of it that weren't out there. So I'm curious if maybe you feel the same way, or if there's something that you really feel would help specifically to serve us that struggle with this or that have struggled with this, to help you on your journey, because I feel like it's such an unserved community really that doesn't really have a lot of things that are meant to help people struggling with this. So let me know. I'm curious, and even from like a product development standpoint, I've just always felt like there's not enough things out there to help people that struggle with skin picking. So I would love to know your thoughts. Okay, so now let's get into the positive, finally, the positive part of this video, which is what actually finally helped me after 2 years of demolishing my face, because that's truly what I was doing. And again, no shame if you're doing that now. I have done it to myself so many times that I don't even know how many times, too many times to count. But there are really 3 or 4 things that were the biggest things that helped. And one of the first things, and I'm gonna start with the easiest thing that you can apply like now, is this little guy here. Yep, what the heck is this? This is a little light that I bought on Amazon, a little red light. It has different modes of colors, but specifically the red light for me. I take this with me literally everywhere, just as like a precaution now, even though I've been out of, my skin picking and I've been able to heal my skin and I don't struggle with the same things that I was struggling, and I made other changes, which I'll get into in a second. But this little red light, using this red light in the bathroom, like I said in the previous point, covering my mirrors didn't work, writing a bunch of things on my mirrors didn't work, but getting a little tiny portable red light that I can turn on or off, or keep on throughout the day while I'm working at home was such a game changer. And specifically the reason why it's red is that when I put this in the bathroom and it lights up my bathroom just enough to where I can see everything, but the red really blurs out anything that is going on in your face, whether you've already picked or whether, again, you struggle with acne, the bumps or the clogged pores or maybe the cystic pimples. Having the red light be like your light in the bathroom blurs really the imperfections a lot. And for me personally, one of my really big triggers was seeing things on my face that I didn't like. It was almost like I wanted to take control and get rid of it, even though I knew I would always regret it after. But just taking almost that mental stress of seeing something that would trigger me was so helpful, and it's so simple. And especially, like I said, if you live with someone, or if you still live with your family or kids or husband or partner or whatever, this is great because it doesn't obstruct everything else in the bathroom. It's not something that you have to have over a mirror. It's not something where you're drawing all over the mirror. It's like you can just turn this on and off, put it to the side. It doesn't bother anyone. Nobody has to know. It's just so practical. And even for traveling, so that you're also not having relapses, or you're staying in hotels that have magnifying mirrors, because that's a big one. Please, for the love of God, if you have a magnifying mirror, throw it away. You do not, oh no, oh my God. That burns. I did not close my Stanley correctly. Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry. Good thing I'm wearing long leggings. But if you're traveling, it is also a game changer. It's small, it comes in different sizes. I'll make sure to have it linked down below in the description so that you can find it easily. And I promise you, it will change everything. It did for me. It's so simple. All you have to do is just really get into the routine of turning it on and keeping it on and charging it so that it's always charged. And also, if you are going to be home for long periods of time, just keep it on. Like, don't rely on yourself to turn it on and off every single time you go into the bathroom, because that's a bad idea. Because the moment that you turn on the lights and you see something, you might all of a sudden, disassociate for a while and find yourself an hour later being like, oh my God. No, just keep it on so that you get used to just having the red light. And it's also kind of like relaxing. I really like it now. Again, I could probably stop at this point, but to me, it's just like such a habit that I've developed, and it just takes the stress that I don't get triggered, and it just helps me maintain peace. So this was a huge win, and I highly recommend that you get this. You could also get red light bulbs and like legitimately switch your light bulbs in your bathroom to red. I wish I could have done that, but again, I live with someone, so that was not realistic. He's not trying to go into a red light bathroom and not have like normal light. So that's something that I personally couldn't do, but probably if I would have been living alone, I would have done that, to be honest, because it was that bad for me. But this solved the problem, and I honestly, I don't think I can live without this now. It's so great. The second thing that really helped, which I highly recommend you read if you're struggling with this, or if you know someone that's struggling with this, you can recommend this book. I'll also have that link down below, but it's called Skin Picking: The Freedom to Finally Stop. This is also a fantastic book. It's also going to help you understand what this is and why this might be happening to you. And same thing, how to take control back over it and feel less shame, less frustration, less all the negative feelings around it. This book was really, really helpful for me, and it's just such a great read if you're someone that's struggling with this. It never hurts to educate yourself, because if you can understand what's happening, it helps you take the proper steps to feel like you can get it under control. And then the last two things is, one, I did start going to therapy. That being said, it wasn't exactly the therapy that I would recommend. If you specifically struggle with this, I highly recommend that you find a therapist that specifically specializes in BFRBs, because a lot of normal therapists are not really familiar with this. Like I said, I think it's a really underserved community of people that struggle with this kind of disorder, and a lot of therapists don't even know that this is a thing. They don't really understand it. They don't really know how to help you. And that kind of was my experience. I loved the person that I worked with, but I am also extremely self-aware, and I already had done a lot of the internal work, and I had done so much research that I was kind of educating her on the topic to see if she could better help me. But I really do think that the proper therapy can help so much if you're someone that has access to that, and that you have the ability to see if that's a tool that is going to help you. I do highly recommend. And then the last thing that I did was that I fortunately changed a little bit of my work dynamic situation, changing that life circumstance, and something that was being a really big trigger for me internally and mentally, that I was using skin picking as a coping mechanism. Changing that also really helped me. And also, again, just prioritizing moving, even if it wasn't in harsh ways, which I talk a lot about on my channel as well, if you've seen any of my fitness content. And that's also something that I had to reframe, because I was going through an injury, because I was having really bad chronic pain, where I knew, okay, I can't train like a beast like I used to, and that's okay, but I still need to find ways to be able to move my body in a way that's good for my mental health, in a way that helps me, again, reestablish this as a way that I can release stress, I can release anxiety into a form that is positive for me, and not into a compulsion that is very negative for me and is not serving me. So I really encourage you to take the time, the self-reflection. I've journaled a lot. Like I said, I've done some therapy. I go on walks for introspection, all the things to help you really think about these things and see what are the tiny little things that you can change, and also be patient with yourself. I've had so many relapses. A big mistake that I also made was I used to count the days. Like I used to say, okay, I'm not gonna pick for 30 days and I can do this. And then maybe I would get to 27 and I would have a relapse. And then I felt, the whole shame, guilt circle again. And then I would be like, okay, I'm gonna try again for 30 days. And maybe sometimes I would get to the 30 days. By the way, I started with sometimes let's start with 5 days. Like it was that bad. But also setting a time was not a good thing for me, because then I would get to, let's say, the 30 days, and then it would almost be like, I've achieved it. Now I can treat myself to pick at something, even if it's just a little bit, and then I would get carried away. And I also had to reframe that, and I was like, okay, if really, like, the version of me that is gonna get this under control is not gonna be counting the days. It's just gonna be, let's call it my old self again, where this wasn't something that I had to deal with. It's not like every single day I was being like, oh, today I didn't pick, today I didn't pick, today. No, like it was just something that I didn't do, right? Like it's not something that I want to consume brain energy for me. So I stopped counting the days, because I realized that it was only helping me maybe a little bit, but then it was actually doing more harm, because either it would make me feel bad for not reaching it, or it would feel like I could treat myself for reaching it, and then the whole cycle would start again. So don't count the days, just focus on daily practices, and all these things that I've talked about today, you're gonna have to experiment to see what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Getting on the right skincare routine was another huge thing that helped me. I simplified everything. I've talked about this on how I got rid of my clogged pores video. I have a whole skincare playlist that I'll have linked down below as well, sharing all the things that I have done and that I'm currently doing to be able to maintain healthy, not perfect, just healthy skin, because I don't strive for perfection, because perfection does not exist, and wanting to be perfect only ends up making you feel worse. So we're not doing that here on my channel. We are just about being intentional, making small improvements every single day that align to us and the best version that we want to be of ourselves. But yeah, ultimately, I want you to know that progress doesn't always look pretty. There are gonna be, oh my gosh, oh, sorry, give me a second while I fix this. There are gonna be a lot of ups and downs, and that's okay. Like I said, you have to be patient with yourself. It is a journey. You don't want to just focus on the finish line. Relearn to be kind to yourself, just like you're kind to other people. Or you might watch videos of other people going through this and you can be empathetic towards them. But then when you're doing this, you feel like you can't give yourself that same empathy back. And that's just not the case. Be nicer to yourself. That's a huge part of this too. It already feels so isolating to go through this. So try to become your friend again and know that it's okay, that you don't have to feel shame around picking episodes, and that it can and it will get better as long as you keep showing up, which is exactly what you did by taking the time to watch this video. And yes, healing doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. And I'm cheering for you. And also know that you're allowed to start over as many times as you need to. And every time that you do, that is growth, because you could just be giving up, but you're still trying, and that's truly all that matters. And just know that you're not broken. You're simply just coping, and you also deserve support. And if you feel safe enough, please share in the comments if you're someone that is struggling with this, because if you're on this journey too, your story matters, and there might be someone out there that also really needs to hear it. And if this video resonated with you, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I am so grateful to have you here. And if you're into wellness, healthy habits, skincare, fitness, all those things, this is the safe space for you, where we do that in an intentional way that's sustainable. And also don't forget to hit the little bell notification so you never miss another Mate Chat episode. And of course, I hope to see you in my next one or in any of my other videos that YouTube thinks you'll love here next.